And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us again here at the InPhase Podcast. I'm Tony Manette. This is my special friend and co-producer and just all-around fantastic guy, Dan Kress.
Now, last week you said one of your best friends.
Yes.
One of my bestest.
That's true.
Friends.
You're up there. You're up on the speed dial.
Are we like up there? Are we talking like up there like Fergie and Jesus? Or?
Yeah. In that order, Fergie, then Jesus.
Your voice was like an angel.
That's right.
It's a mixture of...
When you sang the national anthem, Fergie, I just loved it. Anyway.
Fergie, if you're out there and you're working with Red Bull.
Right. Send a case our way.
Yeah.
Sugar-free, though.
Well, I don't know. See,
mix.
I asked Tony to pick me up a sugar-free Red Bull today. And first of all, he bought me the biggest damn thing on the menu.
The menu.
But I was secretly hoping he did not get me a sugar-free one. And you succeeded at failing.
There we go.
And failed at succeeding.
The universe brought us another non-accidental blessing.
Kismet.
There you go. Yeah. That's right.
I'm going to adjust this, and if it's loud and bumpy, you guys just have to deal with it. Yeah. So, we're back, man.
Yes.
How are you doing? Back. How are you doing from last week?
I am doing really well. Had a really, really awesome, busy week. Some challenges at work that have turned out to be fantastic. Just got to keep kind of working towards progress there and staying focused on that. I've got an amazing team that I work with that I'm a member of, and it's just a real blessing to be part of this team. And so loving that. I feel like I grow and learn every week. Family's doing well. My daughter had a really exciting thing going on for her career possibly in LA, so that's really exciting. And the Maniacs are good. How are the Cresses doing?
The Cresses are good, man. We are busy. Some of that busyness we do together.
Yeah.
We had a busy time Saturday, but we're busy. You know, Allison's... Well, maybe I mentioned it last week. We've got 4 chickens.
Yeah.
I think we're allowed in our city to have 3.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh, Dan. Always stretching.
And that city is Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're listening,
Kalamazoo. We're doing good, man. We just chugging along. I mean, it's great that there's no new news. You know, we're really fortunate that we got together a week ago.
Yeah.
You know, it's so great to be back and to be in a good rhythm, and it's probably going to look like not a lot of new news on the family front, but we're doing good this week.
Starting summer break, I heard, right?
Yeah, our kids just hopped right into summer break.
Yeah, boom.
Yeah, boom. Here comes the boom, ready or not.
Yes.
That's what it feels like.
Have you ever seen a commercial where the parents are loading the kids up and they look like they're marching them off to their death? The kids are like, and they're getting them on the school bus.
Yeah.
And the school bus pulls away and everybody pops champagne. And they're going, dancing in the street.
School,
Anyway, we don't really feel like that, kids, if you're listening.
They won't listen for a solid 20 years.
We want you to stay home all the time.
Yeah,
for the rest of your lives. Right. Anyway, so...
And again... Red Bull.
There you go. So we're back. We're rebooted. If you recall, we had about 15 episodes that we struck up where we were interviewing what we felt like were amazing guests that were members of our community. And, you know, we kind of always explained it that, well, you know, it would be great to have a brain surgeon or an astronaut on our show. What we're looking for is folks who are living literally next door to us who are thriving in their lives, right? And they've found ways to thrive, right? That's kind of evolved a little bit into something I feel like, or I know you and I both feel like, is going to be a little bit easier to produce and get out there. It's still along the same lines. We're talking to a bunch of folks, trying to be researched a little bit, and we're just going to hit topics that we feel like us and our communities are really dealing with, right? Some things that people are passionate about and or struggling with, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. So we talked last week, just kind of as a refresher, but we led into the fact that this week we were going to hit social media. Right?
Yeah.
So I've got a 23 and a 24-year-old at home.
So
you've got
almost 13, 10, and 5. Yeah. So. They're all almost those ages, like
almost right. We're rounding. We round here at InPhase Podcast. But my point is this: that we have seen and or are currently experiencing personally within our lives social media.
Yeah.
Right? The influences and effects.
And, not just social media, but these things. My wife's texting me right now. I'm looking down. I'm not 100% focused, and for that, I'm sorry, but it's a thing. It's a thing. We have these, we're tethered to these things.
Yes.
And I could complain about it. I could complain about being tethered all that I want, but the reality is, if I left my phone at home right now, I'd be losing my mind.
Yeah. Right.
What is that?
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the situation that we find ourselves in, which I think would be valuable for us to discuss, because this thing has become extremely powerful. And let's just go through, let me just vomit up a couple of statistics for you, right? Because I think we found social media and mobility to be this amazing tool. And as technology is continuing to provide information and our ability to do things literally at the edge, what they kind of term as the edge, or our ability to literally house and utilize this amazing computing capability in our hands, or exactly where we are in our laptops, or at the desk at the retail storefront, or whatever it might be, right? The ability, or a nurse's station that's mobile and can roll around into your room after you've had whatever
spicy dye,
right?
That's a medical. That is a medical.
That is definitely science, right there.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Spicy dye.
It seems that we figured out what's wrong with you, and
right. And it turns out your family can move back in now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's European. Yeah. It is a European origin, and it's called spicy dye.
That's right. And lay off the Thai food. So it's powerful, right? Let me just throw a couple of numbers at you, right? There are 4.6. So the population right now on planet Earth is about 8 billion. There are 4.6 billion monthly users on social media. And a small breakdown of that, 3 billion of those are Facebook users. So that's number one in social media, and monthly, right?
Yeah. Wait. Say that first number again.
There are 4.6 billion monthly users, more than half of the world's population. Now, here's the thing that I haven't sifted out yet. Many of these folks have multiple accounts. Right, so I don't know if those are all individuals, or users. They could be just multiple users, multiple accounts, same user.
And there might be we know there's so many, which we're going to talk about hopefully here in a minute. There's so many bot accounts too that are they're not even human.
Right.
So these are 4.6 billion.
4.6 billion. Well, what it was listed as users, and I'll clarify that hopefully in our next episode. 3 billion of those are Facebook, 2 billion YouTube, 2 billion Instagram. The average Gen Z and millennial, right, has 8.5 accounts. Think about that, right? Average time per day right now in that demographic is 147 minutes per day, 2.5 hours, roughly, right? There's going to be $1.3 trillion in advertising in social media this year, right? That is the GNP for I don't know how many nations on this planet. You know what I'm saying? And
that's social media as a whole.
Yeah. Social media as a whole globally.
Which we know is, now it's just Meta, Twitter, and Google, essentially.
Right.
There's some outliers, but...
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. This is interesting, though, because the nation with the highest number of monthly users is India, with a population of just above 1 billion, or right around 1 billion. They have 333 million monthly users. The United States of America, we hover around 330, I think, population-wise. We're second globally at 180 million monthly users, right? And so I say all that to say, to set the stage that number one, this thing's pretty prolific. I think we all know that, right? Just from our own internal experiences and being alive. Number two, this thing is highly valued, right? There is some serious investment going on. I work in I work for a company, and my customer, we support the semiconductor industry, and I'm a huge fan of my client, my customer company. They're an American-made company that manufactures semiconductors, and in my mind, and what we're hearing is that semiconductors are going to become almost like a market-defining commodity, like petroleum, right? And so that's how important they are to everything that we're doing and we're seeing. We're estimating something like $111 billion in TAM and total accessible market for AI for semiconductors in 2026.
Wow. They're
talking about $1.3 trillion in advertising into social media, which, I'm an old marketing guy,
real marketing guy, big gold marketing guy over here.
But you could create an advertisement in your garage, and broadcast it internationally. We forget how powerful this is, right? That you could create advertising in your garage, market it internationally, and what would it cost you? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it wouldn't cost me. I could probably pay $1,000 to boost the post through Facebook.
So translate that into 1.3 trillion.
Golly.
And the companies that want their products and their exposure into this venue, right? You take that with all the information that we're hearing about with regards to the optimization, the algorithms, and how this thing has been optimized, which is freaking brilliant, right? What these folks did, and I the more research I've done and the more I've listened to, I don't know that there was like this deep state, clandestine effort to brainwash us and get us all addicted, but what they did was so effective, and how it iterates and learns from you and then feeds you exactly what you want to see, right? It's mind-boggling how effective it is and how well it has adapted itself to the human brain, the human mind, and our pleasure centers and our receptors, our dopamine receptors. And so, not to cut too far ahead, but what everyone is beginning to see is that there's some huge problems that are coming up here.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I heard my son, who's, again, I've talked about Spencer before. When I grow up, I want to be Spencer Manyetti. He's great, one of the greatest human beings I've ever met.
Spencer Manyetti.
He used the term that this operates like an illegal drug that no one has talked about, even the legalization of.
Yeah. Wow.
Isn't that wild?
Dude, that sucks.
Yeah. And your babies have unlimited access. Isn't that crazy?
Unfettered.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And the fact that I know we're hearing about it and seeing, but how quickly this has all just been adopted into our environments. You know what I mean? It's a little shocking. It is.
It's shocking, but and not to get too ghosty on you, but what does Paul say? Paul says, Paul, not
Paul, his neighbor.
Yeah, not Paul, my neighbor. But in the Bible, Paul says, is it Paul? It's like, I keep doing the things I don't want to do, and I don't do the things I want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
I know Bible.
Yeah, yeah.
This, there's a whole industry now focused on giving us the thing that, we want, but everybody's complaining about it. You know what I mean? It's like why do I keep doing this thing that I don't really want to do, but I don't do the things I want to do? Because there's a freaking computer. There's a freaking computer shoving it in your face all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like sitting back like, oh my gosh. Like even today, I woke up late. You texted me. You're like, hey, I'm on my way. You need anything? And I said, yeah, I'm getting dressed. Because I wasn't still in bed or anything. No. But even knowing that I'm running behind, what do you think the first thing I did was?
Grab your phone.
Grab my phone.
Yep.
And I texted you back after I had already checked
in and
checked my notifications.
Yeah. Not funny.
Why?
Yeah. Not funny. That's funny. And the other, so a couple of things, right? One is that depending upon the research you read, Pew's got a bunch of stuff out there right now. There's several other Mayo and some of the other clinician-oriented research based groups that are publishing a lot of stuff around public health, mental health. It seems to be it doesn't take a lot of imagination to understand this, but it seems to be really effective in the demographics of about 13 to 14 to 23 to 26, right? And the reason that I say that is from a mental development and influence standpoint, there are some really bad things that are coming out, right? That are now like trendable and or averages, right? I think the statistics were something like, and this is just a really, really dark one, but the CDC said in 2021 that nearly 1 in 3 of all high school girls considered suicide. That's a 60% increase from 10 years before, right? So you can follow that thread, right? You can just tug on that thread and start to follow it around things like, and it seems like there's some major themes that come out that I know we're going to dive into here in just a second. And one of them is this anxiety, which is related to a couple of principal things. One of them is that you've got this. I think one of the things that we want to touch on here today is what's real, right? What's real and what's not real.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've got this never-ending fountain of input that is designed to give you what you've been asking to see more and more of and keep refining that. And so if you're struggling with something that you want to kind of maybe you're curious about, it's going to continue to feed you more and more of the things that you're going to begin to see that actually build into your struggles.
Yeah.
Right. Some examples of that around that are related to anxiety is the FOMO, right?
Yeah.
This fear of missing out, right? Everybody sees social media. They see everybody living these fantastic lives, right? They want to be, why am I not having a fantastic life, right? I think that's core at what we're hoping to do, right, for InPhase Media.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and I know that you've experienced some of this, is there is something to, if I'm not engaged, if I don't have my phone on and I'm not engaged on social media, then I'm either going to get left out and left behind. They're going to talk about me.
Yeah. Negatively, not positively.
Right. I won't be there to manage the narrative.
Yeah.
Right. So they're going to talk about me negatively.
Right.
Right. Or I'm just going to miss something.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I'm just going to miss out on something that's supposed to be super awesome. Right. So there's this abandonment, or there's a super negative attack, right? Or you feel like, oh man, I missed out on something that I should have had.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, can I unpack a couple of those things?
Yeah, please.
So here's one thing. Let's pack and unpack.
Yes.
So here's one thing that I don't know if you've thought of this. I thought of this the other day. Kind of blew my mind. So it used to be like, remember when Sopranos was the biggest thing?
Oh yeah.
And you had a big company. HBO, spending tons of money, creating this content, this big thing. and people would get together and watch it at home.
Yeah.
Or you'd watch it by yourself or whatever, but you'd come to work the next day and you'd talk about it. And now the thing that you come to work and talk about, which that's a whole other thing, is coming to work and talking about stuff. Yeah. What I'm getting at is there's less and less engagement with things like, Game of Thrones and all this stuff. It costs a ton of money to make and all this, it has a platform and you stream from. Mm-hmm. They've turned us into the creators. Mm-hmm. We are creating for free content that a robot or a computer is then shoving back in our faces.
Yeah.
And so in terms of the FOMO and the lifestyle thing or whatever, and even talking last week about our hurt, like we're becoming the thing we hate.
Yeah.
We're becoming the thing, or the thing that's kind of enslaving us or gripping us with this social media thing. They're just giving us what we want.
Yeah.
They're just giving us what we want, and they're giving it to us faster, and they're giving it to us more often, and we are just creating more content for them to use.
Right.
And thinking of myself as a piece of that problem, it's almost like it's very disheartening,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me throw that back at you, because the part that we're responsible for, that has become such a negative, could be such a negative. Here's the thing, like this thing is an amazingly powerful tool that people use for a lot of good in the world.
Yeah. And if the whole world was puppies and rainbows.
Right. Right.
This would be great.
Right. But all this stuff that's coming out now that we're beginning to see that is directly showing up societally within our own home environments, our kids' school environments, their friendship, their circle of friendships and community, right? All the, what I want to call primarily negative stuff that we're starting to see. We kind of own part of this too, right? I mean, it hasn't happened on its own.
No.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
And well, I mean, is there any, most of the content that you consume, most all the content that you consume is unsponsored, created by somebody.
Yeah.
Just like you.
True. Yep.
And the stuff takes some more effort and that is sponsored content, like you said before, in terms of advertising, somebody's creating it in their garage. Like it's just still you. It's still you.
Right.
And somebody gave you some money to do it or whatever.
Right.
Like this past week, we're working on some stuff. I sent you a 4K video, cinematic, with a really great score behind it for a voiceover.
Yeah.
That took me 15 minutes to make in my kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so listen to this too, because another layer of what could be awesome, and it kind of is in certain regards, and as far as technological advancement, it's really, really cool. It's got legs that are going to take off. I'm sure we'll talk about a lot in our future episodes, is the fact that every image that these young and impressionable folks are seeing is usually filtered, right? So there has been some kind of process of improvement that has taken place over these images. And so there's this natural comparison now that people have. When you're viewing an image around someone who's in your age group, might be, the same sex, similar demographic, and you're looking at that person and they seem super athletic or super outgoing or gorgeous, right? We all know that there are some folks out there that genetically have the right shaped face, their eyes are in the right position. It's like us, right?
Yeah, it's just a cross I have to bear.
Right.
I just grow this beard out so people don't
just literally
hassle me for being
like a line at the front door of people like, let Dad out.
Yeah,
I just want to touch his garments.
Yeah,
right. Primarily his underwear.
Well, it used to be we would open a magazine or see a commercial, and somebody be airbrushed perfectly.
Right.
And they would look great. But then we'd see them on live TV and we'd be like, oh, okay, that's the William Shatner we all know and love.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or that's
Right.
the Tyra Banks we all know.
Yeah. Right.
Like, you look like a normal person. Still a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
You just look normal.
Right.
Now. You
right.
look
instead of like
filtered.
Goddessly, right? So,
Yeah.
but now what's interesting is that
Everybody's filtered.
everything and live motion, and now with some of the AI stuff that's going on, you can literally just do it on your phone, and it applies filters, and it can change your skin and it smooth everything out, and your complexion, and literally your weight, the profile that would maybe suggest to other people that you might be overweight or whatever it might be, right? And you can start to apply filters towards that. And so you've got all these young minds now out there that are consuming that as well, and it's not real.
Not at all.
Right? So they're beginning to set themselves up and compare themselves, which is a very natural process for human beings for some reason, comparing ourselves, and they're comparing themselves to something that's completely not real.
Yeah.
Right? And we're starting to see that information as well. A few more stats, and the Time wrote a great piece about this a little while ago, so between 2010 and 2019, right, depression is doubled in teenage girls, right? That doesn't even take into account all the COVID years because it's typically spiked since then.
Yeah.
Mental health calls are up over 850% right now into self-help or mental help, calls for help kind of scenario, right? Where you're calling a help desk. If you've got a health plan in your company, it's a big portion. They call out this ability to call in to someone who is a psychologist or psychiatrist. They're on staff and they'll answer the phone and they'll talk you through what issues you're having, right?
Yeah.
When my first 25 years of my professional life, that never existed really. That was something that you'd have to go find somebody to talk to.
And it was almost like, not made fun. Well, yeah, made fun of. It's kind of like you were soft for doing that.
Yeah.
Like you didn't tell anybody. You'd have to call HR and be like, do we have, does my plan cover,
Right. I'm in the closet.
does my plan cover psychiatric help?
Right.
I'm sorry I even asked. Wait
Wait a minute. Are you mental? Is that what you're? Yeah. Right.
Suddenly, Tony Manette's not allowed to have scissors and pens at work.
Right.
Yeah.
Let alone travel. So there's all that going on, obviously, right? And we're seeing this kind of spill into our lives. To me, what's interesting is there were a couple of facts that I heard summarized. And that is that this one, she gave this great talk that I listened to over the weekend. And so she started to give some guidances around pay attention to what's going on in your life, to your mind, and what's going on in your kids' lives, to their minds. Because they're under attack, for maybe lack of a better description. And so one of the things that she mentioned was this awareness of the fact that when you're so a lot of times the initial utilization of social media was for an escape, right? So the stage was almost set, like you've got this ability to instantly escape for just a little bit. So you had something going on, maybe you're stressed out, you grabbed your phone and you hopped on social media and you escaped for a little while, and you saw some folks doing a vacation, or you saw some kind of montage that somebody put together of golf cart flips or whatever.
Yeah, cat videos.
Yeah, cat videos or whatever it might be.
Epic fails.
Right. Or puppies that made you laugh or whatever. Yeah. So that turned into more and more utilization, and it became more and more information. Then it became more affirmation or comparison, right? And so what she kind of spoke to was, and I think this was an amazing point that I'd never really, it's not on my mirror at home to check down against in the morning. Yeah. And that is, does it make me feel better when I'm done?
No.
Right? So why is that? Why doesn't it make you feel better?
Well, personally, and I'm going to reference back to we had a guest named Darren, and he's talking about his struggles with addiction. Darren and I, or not Darren, Trevor.
Yep.
Darren was not. Yep. Darren was talking about
Darren's addicted to success.
Addicted to success.
And cream corn.
Yeah. Trevor. Look it up. And saving Africans from tornadoes.
That's right. That's right.
Tell you guys, the old episodes are real interesting. They're long.
You gotta check them out.
There are a lot to distill.
Yes.
You got to really strap in, pack a lunch, but they're great. There's a lot of fuerte de información in there. Fountain of information. Wow. Anywho, Trevor. So back to why, for me, it doesn't make me feel any good. Personally, I have the same problem as Trevor in that when I'm done with something or when I'm experiencing something, I just want more. Mm-hmm. Like I want more. Mm-hmm. I'm not like experiencing something that I think feels good or that is good. I am just trying to make it last. I'm trying to keep it from ending. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that about myself, and thankfully now mental health is not a taboo thing, or mental health care is not a taboo thing, and so taking care of my mental health, I don't struggle with that so much anymore. But that has been a problem for me, and that is kind of my default where I have to reset and be like, wait a minute. But yeah, for me, it's like I'm just like I don't want this. It's not like I'm enjoying it. It's like I don't want this to end. If we're at a show and it's like time to wrap up the show, yeah, I'm like, oh, we can do one more thing. We can do. I'm exhausted. It's not because I'm enjoying it. It's because I don't want it. I'm trying to push it longer, or like when I would overeat. I wasn't hungry. I was just trying to, that tastes really good. I want. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and So that's my answer to that question. But I also don't think that. I think that a lot of people are being conditioned to do the same thing and not know it. But yeah, with social media. Yeah,
and to kind of build on that. For me, it's funny because Dan and I go. We've got something going on all the time. I would say one of the things that maybe we would I think our wives would definitely agree with as well, is that we could work on rest, right?
Yeah, my boss would agree.
Yeah. And like real rest, not, okay, I'm going to take a break and get on my phone. Right. Yeah. But real, like resting my mind, maybe reading a book for a little while, meditation, whatever it might be. My wife is a yoga instructor, and she's gotten some amazing benefits out of yoga in her life, and she preaches it because she's seen it. My daughter's really involved now. She's seen some amazing stuff. I'm not as much. My ADHD's constantly firing. I struggle to settle.
Put the back of your knee against the back of your head. And breathe.
Right.
I'm like, right. I can't even lift my legs in the air and breathe. I can't bend over and pick up this water bottle without going.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So that's why yoga.
Side note, when Spencer, when he was little, like a year and a half, he would bend down and pick something up, and he would go, and I'm like, honey, do you think something's wrong? You think he's got like a bad back or something? She goes, no. He thinks it's the sound you're supposed to make because you do that when you pick something up.
Oh, that's rich. Oh, man.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Spence?
Something like that. Yeah, that's right. Picking up this train. Yeah. But one of the things that it is, the thing that I have noticed that makes me feel worse, it's not as much the comparative stuff. Most of the stuff that I'm getting plugged into are little snippets, literally, that are like dogs that make you laugh, or fishing. I love fishing. So people that are catching amazing, fishing experiences or whatever that might be. But is rest. It interrupts my rest to the point where, Dan and I have a belief system where we have a guide in our lives, right? And there is a voice that goes off in my head that says, I'm literally I'm laying in bed, I'm exhausted, I could be asleep in 2 minutes, I can fall asleep in 30 seconds.
You could fall asleep
right now, mid-sentence. And I'm reaching for my phone, and there is a voice in my head saying, don't do this, don't do this. And I'm like literally just having this, just 10 minutes. An hour and a half later.
Yeah.
It's insane. And then I put it down, and like my heart and my mind, it takes me another half an hour
to calm it down,
to calm my mind down and fall asleep. So just from a restfulness, which there's so much data out there around rest, mental well-being, and especially development, right? When you're developing.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, because Facebook was founded and I use Facebook as a reference because it's probably we had MySpace before that, but it really wasn't what social media is today. Facebook, when Facebook jumped on the market, was really when this started, so I'm not just blaming Facebook or Meta or Mark Zuckerberg. It's our fault.
Yeah.
And it's capitalism's fault.
Yeah.
But, so that's why I keep referencing Facebook. That's the only reason. Because they were kind of the diving board, the initial boom. But 2004 is when they were founded, or not founded, but rolled out. Facebook was. I was in high school. I was let's see, when was the iPhone released?
Oh gosh.
Let me look it up. iPhone, what I'm getting at is 88?
98?
98? No, it was later than that.
Was it later than that?
2007.
Oh, yeah.
I was out of high school.
9 years?
Yeah. I was out of high school.
Yeah.
But I was still in between that. What'd you say, like the 12 or 13 to 20?
Yeah, 13 to 14 to 23 to 26.
I was still in that range.
Mm-hmm.
It was as the algorithms were learning, I was learning, and I'm a part of the generation that was learning from it and vice versa. And I'm not so naive to think that, we may not have subconsciously picked up on some of those things and used it, like forced the algorithm.
Yeah.
Like, I know if I do this, it's going to cause this reaction from Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Like, I know if I look at, camping videos exclusively, it'll stop sending me CrossFit ads, or it'll stop sending me, it'll just be like REI, So knowing that, so these are things that, like, I've had imprinted, I think. I'm curious, somebody, and I don't want to reference your age.
I'm fine. I'm 1,000 years old.
Go ahead.
Methuselah.
Go ahead. Say it.
Say it.
Say it.
I'm older than dirt.
But you know what I mean? I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I would have an assumption that it would be easier for you. It would suck, but it would be easier for you to do a week fast from your smartphone. Like, you still had a phone, and you still could text and talk and whatever.
Yeah.
But you could survive.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Now, TV might be a problem. That would be much harder for me. But yeah.
I think that I would have a much harder time. And I think that's why I like to do motorcycle stuff. Wait, Aaron Morgan, if you're out there, you ride?
Where are you?
You ride?
Yeah.
He always makes fun of me when I bring up motorcycle stuff. He's like, wait, you ride? He rides motorcycles too.
Wait, you ride?
It's just like I'm just waiting for an opportunity to talk about motorcycles all the time. No, it's just a part of my life. It's like,
right.
But maybe because I don't. Well, hold on. Let me back up. So, I think you might have an easier time of separating that than I do, and I think it's because of the imprint that the time it was booming while we were learning.
Yep.
So that's that. But two, I do have. It is really easy for me to separate from my phone and from social media and from TV and all that stuff and work. It's super easy for me to do that only when I'm doing high adrenaline producing activities.
Yep.
Like riding my motorcycle off a cliff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. Therapize me right now. What is that? What do you think that is? Like,
well,
Yeah, if I'm just chilling on vacation, I can't go without my phone. If we're at the beach,
Yeah.
But if I could spend a week on my bike and not even think about it.
Well, so to me, there's way more qualified people out there than I am, but your mind is obviously switching its focus, and getting its needs met by whatever it has coming in when you're on your motorcycle, and that's thrill. You're a little more on the edge. You're seeing things. Stuff's happening very fast. If you're going to survive, fight or flight, that you better stay focused on what's coming up and what's in front of you, right? And so it's to me, it would seem like your mind is switching its focus, right, into those things. I haven't heard of a statistic yet where you drop a kid off in a lion's den, and he's like, oh, hold on, I just got to check my feed, right?
Yeah.
Right. While there's a lion walking up and about to eat me, right? That's probably not the, you know what I mean? Some things are still kicking in to that point, but yeah, think about the power of that, right? The fact that you're on a device that if you're not paying attention and singular and very, very focused on what's happening now in the world around you, which we should talk about that some more, because there is a function that we're I feel like we're designed for, where we're supposed to be engaged in that. And that's, I think, kind of what this stuff hits, this social stuff kind of hits on that, right? And so if you think about when you're on your motorcycle, you're usually not on your motorcycle thinking about the 98 things you've got to get done in the next couple of weeks or months, or house, or I got to get, somebody to look at the roof, or that toilet's not flushing the way it should, or, my taxes. You're not doing that.
The toilet's not flushing the way it should. Right. That's the one you chose, bro.
Right. It's important stuff, dude.
It is. It
right?
is important.
Trust me.
Shit happens.
Right. It does. Oh, a lot. At the Manette house, especially.
No, I get you. Yeah, at the Manette house, especially. Yeah, totally.
So I do think there's something obviously there where there's.
Yeah, but I've seen videos of people they're funny, like they're in funny on social media,
sure,
in whatever, like clips of people just on their phone, and a car crash happens in front of them, or like somebody almost walks off a cliff, on their phone.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's like, what the?
Yeah. So distraction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch on us a little bit here, if you don't mind, because I do think that's like a whole
plan switch.
That's a whole that's a whole thing we could follow down, right? An episode.
Oh, you're right.
To me, because I know we're kind of getting close to the end of our time, and maybe we carry this over to next week, is a couple of things. And one is, I think, and maybe we do this next week, let's talk about some things that we're seeing and have learned that have helped us and our families cope with the power of this device and what comes through it, right? Yeah. Here's one more stat, though, and this is almost a call to action, right? So we just all went through COVID, right? You remember that thing that happened?
What happened?
COVID.
I was on my motorcycle for 3 years. I have no clue what happened.
Right. Right. So this thing called COVID hits.
Okay.
And the whole world changed. Literally in a lot of different ways, right? From the way we do business, how we identify our customers, how we serve each other, how we interact communally, and we definitely need to touch on all those things, like how wrought our emotions are now, how controlled, that it's super okay to have your emotions controlling you.
Yeah. And
to just be airing that out all the time. Right. We'll get to that. We'll get to that next week. But here's the call to action. Right. These are CDC numbers. Right. So in 2021, more than 1 in 5 students, so it's 22%, seriously considered attempting suicide. 1 in 10 attempted suicide. So if I came to you, Dan, or to our elected officials, and I said, I have proof that a pandemic is about to hit the future of our society, our students, our youth, and there's a really powerful chance that 1 in 10 of them are going to die in the next year. What do you think would happen in society? We just saw it.
Yeah,
right?
we'd be
in serious freaking lockdown mode, right? I mean, people would be scrambling. We would have the equivalent of safe spacing, masking, whatever that might be, in order for us to get our hands around the fact that 1 in 10 of American students are going to attempt to take their life in the next 12 months. Yeah. That is a call to action, right? If I've ever heard one, right? And my kids they're getting out of this mode, but they're still there. They still struggle. We have very adult conversations around the things they're struggling with. And getting through these years, which you're now just starting, I know one of the things that Becky and I would talk about was, okay, rule number 1 is keep them alive, right? We'll deal with what's going on later. We just need to figure out how to keep them alive, right? Instead of, you're never going to do that. You're grounded forever, that kind of stuff. We try to figure out ways, because this thing is so crazy and powerful in ways that, and the fact that I'm not talking to my kids 2.5 hours a day about their mental state, this thing is, right?
more. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, crazy.
it is crazy. So let's kind of break down everything that we've just
Yeah.
Because if it seems like I've been railroaded, I have. Just thinking, no, not by you, but just thinking about everything.
Yeah.
I wish we could sit down and talk. We could talk like 3 more hours about this. But totally next week we're going to talk about. We're just going to continue this conversation. But so, what are the big points? Social media. What are the big points, the takeaways that you think we should have so far?
So number 1, this thing is hugely powerful, and you need to think about that. So I guess the first thing I would say is engaging your mind the way it was designed to be engaged around what this is, what it was designed for, and how it can possibly affect you.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to be seriously honest with yourself around that. You also need to take a step back and look at how it is affecting you and what are the benefits you're truly gaining.
Yeah,
right?
if any.
Right. There's an old adage, right? A farmer doesn't keep planting in a field that doesn't grow. Right?
Yeah.
So you got to figure out what's working and what's not. And we'll get next week to some really cool things that are actually pretty basic in certain areas, and other stuff that's pretty dynamic, that can help safeguard you, your mind, your kids' minds, your family, your community time, your rest, stuff like that, right? The other thing, though, is that there are some primary basic things that are trending now, that are coming out around anxiety, depression, self-harm, mental health, right? And they don't pop up. There's not a sign on the wall that says my kid is seriously struggling. And I know this firsthand, right? There's nothing that shows up that tells you that there is a serious problem in your house, right? I likened it to this. We woke up one day and there was a cobra living in our house. And I didn't know it.
Yeah.
And I should have. Like, how do you not know a cobra is living in your house? And I didn't know it. And the thing was deadly, right? And until we started to we got really, really lucky and saw some things. We were able to engage them and headed some really, really bad stuff off. But it was bad. It was way, way worse, 1,000 times worse than Becky and I were imagining it was. And it's out there. It's happening. It's happening in ways that you can't imagine. And just, find that cobra in your house, man. Identify it. And you're going to have to. You got to hunt it down. You got to figure out ways to get engaged and do that. And we'll talk about all that as well.
Yeah, because when you can't wait until it's, on top of you.
Yeah.
Because you're dead.
Someone's going to die.
Yeah.
Someone's going to die.
Go find it.
Yeah. It's literally, I'm not a fear person. This is not about fear. This is about, let's get out in front of this and let's engage each other around helping. That's the other thing is ask somebody in your community, ask your friends, are you seeing anything? What are you dealing with? I guarantee if you're friends and your kids are friends, there's some commonalities that are going on there that maybe you get some power out of discussing, right? Yeah. So really draw on community because people are experiencing this and they got something to share that will help you with wisdom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So dive into that. So sorry to be so dark and
no, I don't think
strong this week.
That's great.
Yeah. This is big stuff though. Big stuff.
Like I said last week, it will kind of feel like sometimes we're just getting a bunch of stuff out. It's been pent up. And I love that we are going to say, hey, this is first our observation of what's going on social media. And now let's unpack it over next week and maybe the week after. And
yeah,
but
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. You all right?
I'm okay. I really like that. You got to go find that cobra.
Go find the cobra.
Go find the cobra.
Yep.
Cobra Kai.
Yeah. Sweep the leg. That's right.
And again, if Red Bull is watching.
Yes. Don't forget to send us a case or two.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Not a problem. Also remember what Spencer said, that this thing is almost tantamount to having heroin in your house.
Mainline.
Right. And it's completely legal.
Yeah.
So crazy as far as the addictive levels of it. So funny stuff. Anyway, so on behalf of the InPhase podcast, we'd like to thank you guys very, very much for taking part. Anything else you want to add before we close out, Danny?
No, I'm just excited. Thank you guys for the engagement of, our first, back in the saddle episode. And our intent is just to keep rocking. And
yeah.
So thank you so much. And hopefully we can use the crazy, addictive nature of this heroin cobra.
Yeah.
To do some cool stuff,
Right.
We can use it against itself to bring some, or against us, not really against itself, but against us to bring some light and some joy.
Yeah, maybe the original intent, right? Yeah. So anyway, so also we'd like to thank the Bridge Church for providing us this amazing facility. Nothing that we've shared today in any way, shape, or form is the view or is endorsed by the Bridge Church. These are Dan and I's thoughts solely only. And so on behalf of InPhase Media and the InPhase podcast, we'd like to have you go have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks so much.